Okay, imagine this. It's the early 1800s in southern Africa. There are hundreds of small clans living in the region, all pretty much equal in power. They fight sometimes, but mostly they just coexist. Nothing too dramatic. Then one guy shows up. His name is Shaka. He's the illegitimate son of a minor chief, bullied as a kid, exiled from his own clan. By all accounts, he should be nobody. Fast forward just 10 years. Shaka has united dozens of clans into one massive kingdom. He's created the most feared military force in southern Africa. His warriors can cover 50 miles a day on foot. They fight in perfect formation like a human machine, and they're conquering everything in sight. By the time he's done, Shaka has built an empire of over 250,000 people from basically nothing. He changes warfare, he changes culture, he changes the entire region, and he does it all in less than 15 years. This is one of the most dramatic rises in history and one of the most tragic falls, because the same intensity that built the Zulu Empire also destroyed it. So how does one man revolutionize an entire society? What made the Zulu military so unstoppable? And what happens when a leader becomes too powerful, too ruthless, too paranoid? Let's find out.
Schemes in the shadows, plans in the light. Kings and conquerors chasing the night. Brick by brick, their stories grow tall. But every empire learns how to fall.
Welcome back to Blueprints of Power. I'm Jack.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Charlie, and today we're talking about the Zulu Empire, which has one of the most intense origin stories we've ever covered.
Seriously, this one is wild because it happened so fast. Lily, give us the overview. What are we looking at?
So we're talking about the Zulu Kingdom, which rose to power in the early 1800s in what's now South Africa. And when I say rose to power, I mean exploded onto the scene. In the span of about 12 years, from roughly 1816 to 1828, the Zulu went from being one small clan among many to controlling a massive kingdom.
12 years? That's like middle school to college.
Exactly. And it's all because of one leader, Shaka Zulu.
We've covered a lot of empires, but this feels different because it's so personal. Like one person's vision creates an entire empire.
That's exactly what happened. Shaka didn't just conquer territory, he reinvented Zulu society, revolutionized warfare, and created a military system that was unstoppable.
Until it wasn't.
Right. The fall is just as dramatic as the rise.
Okay, so today we're covering the rise, the reign, and the fall of the Zulu Empire. And fair warning, this one gets intense.
In a good way or a bad way?
Both.
Yeah, that's accurate.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Lily, who was Shaka and how did he come to power?
Okay, so to understand Shaka's rise, we need to understand where he came from. In the late 1700s, southern Africa was home to hundreds of small Nguni clans. The Zulu were just one of them. Not particularly powerful, not particularly special.
So they're just one group among many.
Exactly. And Shaka was born around 1787. His father was a chief of the Zulu clan, but his mother Nandi wasn't the chief's main wife, so Shaka was considered illegitimate.
Oh no, that's never a good start in history.
It really isn't. And it gets worse. Shaka and his mother were mocked, bullied, and eventually exiled from the Zulu clan. They had to live with another clan, the Mthethwa, where Shaka grew up as an outsider.
So he's rejected by his own people?
Yes, and that rejection shaped him. He became this intense, driven person, and when he was old enough, he joined the army of the Mthethwa chief Dingiswayo.
Did he become a good warrior?
He became an exceptional warrior. Shaka was strong, smart, and absolutely fearless. But more than that, he started thinking about warfare differently.
What do you mean?
So, at the time, most clans fought in a pretty ritualistic way. Warriors would throw spears from a distance, there'd be some casualties, and then everyone would go home. It was more about showing strength than total annihilation.
Like a performative fight?
Kind of, yeah. But Shaka thought that was inefficient. He wanted to win completely, so he started experimenting with new tactics.
Like what?
First, he changed the weapons. Instead of throwing spears, he created a short stabbing spear called an illegitimate. It was designed for close combat. You couldn't throw it away. You had to get close and fight.
So he made warfare personal?
Very personal. And he also introduced a new shield technique. Zulu warriors carried large cowhide shields. Shaka taught them to hook an enemy's shield with their own, pull it aside, and stab with the spear. It was devastatingly effective.
That's actually genius.
It is. And he didn't stop there. He also changed how warriors moved. He made them run barefoot so they could move faster and quieter. He drilled them constantly. He created this disciplined, coordinated fighting force.
So he's basically creating a special ops unit?
Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. In 1816, Shaka's father dies. Normally, Shaka wouldn't inherit anything because he was illegitimate. But his mentor, Chief Dingiswayo, helps him take control of the Zulu clan by force.
So he goes from exile to chief?
Yes, and the moment he takes power, he starts transforming the Zulu. He reorganizes society around the military. He takes all the young men and puts them into age-based regiments called amabutho.
What's an amabutho?
It's like a military unit made up of men the same age. They lived together, trained together, fought together, and they couldn't get married or start families until Shaka gave them permission, usually after they'd proven themselves in battle.
Wait, he controlled when people could get married?
Yep, it kept warriors focused and loyal, and it worked. Within a few years, Shaka had built the most disciplined, effective army in the region.
So what does he do with it?
He starts conquering. In 1817, he defeats a rival clan, then another, and he doesn't just beat them, he absorbs them. If you surrendered to Shaka, you could join the Zulu. If you resisted, you were destroyed.
So he's growing by conquest and assimilation?
Exactly. And because his military tactics were so advanced, almost nobody could stop him. By 1820, the Zulu kingdom controls a huge territory. By 1824, Shaka's army is estimated at over 50,000 warriors.
In less than 10 years?
Yes, it's one of the fastest military expansions in history.
So how does he keep control? Like, how do you manage an empire that grows that fast?
That's the question, and the answer is ruthlessly.
Okay, so Shaka has built this massive army, conquered a huge territory, and created the Zulu Empire. Now, Lily, what made the Zulu military so effective? What was their secret?
Great question. The Zulu weren't just good fighters, they were a system. Let me break down the ingredients of their power.
All right, quick pause. Because we're about to get into the Zulu military machine, and it's one of the most innovative fighting forces in history. But first, if you're enjoying this episode, hit that follow button. Seriously, it takes 2 seconds and it helps us reach more people who love history. Also, share this with someone. Share it with your friends, your parents, your teachers. We're trying to make history feel alive, and word of mouth is how we grow. And if you've got a minute, leave us a review. We read every single one, and it genuinely makes our day. Coming up this season, the Tang Dynasty, the Macedonian Empire, and much, much more. It's going to be epic. All right, back to the Zulu. Let's talk about what made them unstoppable.
Okay, so we were talking about what made the Zulu military so powerful. First ingredient, innovation. Shaka didn't just copy what other clans were doing, he revolutionized warfare.
With the short spear and the shield technique?
Exactly. But it wasn't just weapons. He also created a formation called the Horns of the Buffalo.
That sounds intense.
It was. Here's how it worked. The Zulu army would arrange itself into 4 parts. The chest was the main force that engaged the enemy head-on. The 2 horns were fast-moving units that would run around the sides and surround the enemy. And the loins were reserves who sat with their backs to the battle so they wouldn't get distracted.
Wait, they had reserves that weren't allowed to watch the battle?
Yep. They'd sit facing away until they were called in. It kept them fresh and focused.
That's actually smart. So they'd just surround you?
Exactly. You'd think you're fighting one group and then suddenly you're surrounded. It was psychological and tactical brilliance.
So what's the second ingredient?
Discipline. Zulu warriors trained constantly. They ran long distances every day. Some sources say they could cover 50 miles in a day.
50 miles? That's like 2 marathons.
I know. They were incredibly fit, and they trained in formation so that everyone moved as one unit. If you broke formation or showed cowardice, you could be executed.
Wow, so fear kept them in line?
Fear and loyalty. Shaka was brutal, but he was also respected. He fought alongside his men, he shared their hardships, and he rewarded success with cattle, status, and eventually permission to marry.
So it's like extreme military discipline plus incentives?
Exactly. Third ingredient, speed and mobility. The Zulu didn't have horses or complex supply chains. They traveled light and moved fast. They could strike before enemies even knew they were coming.
So they're like a special forces unit, but it's the whole army?
Basically, yeah. And fourth ingredient, psychological warfare. The Zulu were terrifying. They chanted war cries, stomped the ground in unison, and created this overwhelming wall of sound and movement. Some enemies would flee before the battle even started.
I mean, I would too. That sounds terrifying.
It was, and the reputation grew. People across the region knew, if the Zulu are coming, you're in trouble.
So they had innovation, discipline, speed, and fear. That's a powerful combination.
It really is. And by the mid-1820s, the Zulu kingdom is at its peak. They control a massive territory. They've absorbed dozens of clans, and Shaka is the absolute ruler.
So what's life like in the Zulu kingdom?
It depends. If you're a warrior, life is intense. You train, you fight, you serve the king. But if you're a farmer or a woman, life is complicated. Shaka reorganized society completely. He created military towns called Amakanda, where warriors lived. Women were also organized into regiments and worked for the kingdom.
So everyone had a role?
Yes, it was a highly organized, hierarchical society. But here's the thing. It was also a police state. Shaka had spies everywhere. If you spoke against him, you could be killed. If you showed disloyalty, your whole family could be killed.
So it's efficient but brutal.
Exactly. And that brutality starts to become a problem because by the late 1820s, Shaka is becoming increasingly paranoid and unstable.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. In 1827, Shaka's mother, Nandi, dies, and Shaka loses it. He orders a year of mourning. He bans farming. He bans milk. He has thousands of people executed for not mourning properly.
Wait, what?
He went into a deep grief and became incredibly erratic. He started executing people randomly. He sent his army on campaigns with no clear purpose. People were terrified.
So the same intensity that built the empire is now destroying it?
Exactly, and people start plotting against him.
So Shaka's at the peak of his power, but he's also losing control.
And someone's going to make a move.
Before we get into the fall of Shaka and the Zulu Empire, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something. This story is complex. Shaka was brilliant, innovative, and built something extraordinary. But he was also brutal, violent, and ruled through fear. History is full of people like this, leaders who did incredible things and terrible things, and it's important that we talk about both. If you're enjoying the way we explore these stories honestly and thoughtfully, please share this show. Share it with your friends, your family, your teachers. We're trying to build something that treats history with respect and curiosity. Also, please leave us a review if you haven't already. It really helps other people discover the show. Next week, we're covering the Tang Dynasty. It's going to be intense in a completely different way. All right, let's talk about how Shaka's reign came to a sudden and violent end.
Okay, so Shaka's becoming more paranoid, more violent, more unstable. What happens?
In 1828, Shaka's half-brothers, Dingain and Mlangana, decide they've had enough. They're tired of the constant wars, the executions, the instability. So they make a plan.
They're going to assassinate him?
Yes. And on September 22, 1828, while Shaka is meeting with a trade delegation, his half-brothers and a few co-conspirators attack him. They stab him to death.
Just like that?
Just like that. Shaka, the man who built an empire, is killed by his own brothers.
That's brutal.
It is. And immediately after Dingaan takes control, he becomes the next Zulu king.
Does the empire survive?
For a while, yes. Dingaan rules for about 12 years. But he's not Shaka. He's less focused on expansion and more focused on consolidation. The Zulu kingdom remains powerful, but it stops growing.
So the momentum dies with Shaka?
Pretty much. And then something else happens that changes everything. The Europeans arrive.
Oh no.
Yeah, in the 1830s, Dutch settlers called Boers start moving into Zulu territory. They want land and they're willing to fight for it. In 1838, there's a major battle called the Battle of Blood River. The Boers have guns and they defeat a massive Zulu army.
So the Zulu lose?
They lose that battle, and it's devastating. But the bigger problem is the British. By the 1870s, the British Empire is expanding into southern Africa, and they see the Zulu kingdom as a threat.
So they go to war?
Yes. In 1879, the British invade Zululand. This is the Anglo-Zulu War. And here's the thing. The Zulu fight incredibly well. At the Battle of Isandlwana, the Zulu defeat a British force and kill over 1,300 soldiers. It's one of the worst defeats in British military history.
Wait, the Zulu beat the British?
In that battle, yes. But the British have superior technology, rifles, artillery, cavalry, and eventually they overwhelm the Zulu. By the end of 1879, the Zulu kingdom is defeated and broken apart.
So the empire lasts about 50 years?
Roughly, yeah. From Shaka's rise in 1816 to the British conquest in 1879. And after that, Zululand becomes part of the British colony of Natal. The independent Zulu kingdom is over.
That's so sad.
It is. But the Zulu people didn't disappear. They kept their culture, their language, their identity. And today, the Zulu are the largest ethnic group in South Africa. Their legacy lives on.
So the empire fell, but the people survived?
Exactly. And Shaka's legacy is complicated. He's remembered as a military genius, a nation builder, and a brutal dictator, all at the same time.
History's messy.
It really is.
All right, so we've covered the rise, the reign, and the fall of the Zulu Empire. Now, what can we learn from all of this?
I'll go first. My takeaway is, innovation wins battles. Shaka didn't have more resources or more people. He just thought differently. He changed the weapons, changed the tactics, and changed the game. The lesson is, if you're facing a tough situation, don't try to outmuscle your competition. Outthink them.
That's really good. Lily?
Mine is about intensity. Shaka built an empire through sheer force of will and discipline. That intensity created something extraordinary, but it also burned too hot. When your system is built on one person's vision and that person becomes unstable, everything falls apart. You need structures, systems, and safeguards, not just charisma and control.
Yeah, that's huge. All right, mine is about legacy. Shaka's empire only lasted a few decades, but the Zulu people are still here. They kept their identity, their language, their culture. The lesson is, empires fall, but culture survives. What you build in people's hearts and minds lasts longer than what you build with swords.
Wow, that's deep, Jack.
Really deep.
Thanks. All right, everyone. Next week, we're diving into the Mongol Empire, Genghis Khan, horseback warfare, and the fastest growing empire in human history. You do not want to miss it.
I'm so ready for that one.
It's going to be epic.
It really is. All right, thanks so much for hanging with us on Blueprints of Power. If you loved this episode, share it with someone, leave us a review, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Lily.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jack, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.